I knew I shouldn't have looked behind the altar because something had been kneeling there recently. The floor was still warm. My name is Marcus H. In the fall of 2020, I was doing contract cleanup for abandoned properties in Southern, old schools, closed factories, churches that lost their congregations. This one sat just outside a town called Ironton, white siding, steeple leaning a little to the left. Power cut years ago. The key came from the county office. Inside it smelled like dust and lemon cleaner. Someone had scrubbed recently. That was the first odd thing. The pews were neat, hymnals stacked evenly. A portable radio sat on the front row, quietly humming static. I figured squatters, maybe kids. Behind the altar, I noticed scuff marks. Knees, bare feet, repeated use. The wood there was darker. Polished smooth by contact, I laughed it off, took photos, drank from my 7-Eleven water bottle. The place felt used, not abandoned. While I worked, I heard a soft tapping, not random, slow, intentional, coming from the walls. I checked outside, nothing, no cars, no lights. When I came back in, the radio was playing a sermon. Low volume, male voice, calm, talking about gratitude, about giving what's owed. I didn't turn it on. Then I noticed the offering box. It was full, fresh bills, neatly folded, no dust, no envelopes. Behind it, someone had carved a phrase into the wood, recent, clean lines, still listening. I felt watched, not from the corners, from the front, like an audience. I moved toward the exit, slow, quiet. That's when I saw the floor, bare footprints, dozens, all facing the altar and one set facing me. I said hello. My voice echoed wrong. The tapping stopped. I ran. The county told me that church still files utility exemptions. Someone submits paperwork every year, signed by hand. I don't take church jobs anymore. My name is Ethan R. In early 2022, I was working nights as a security contractor in eastern Kentucky, mostly empty properties, warehouses, old churches waiting to be sold. This one sat off Route 23, outside a town called Louisa. Brick, tall windows, no power, no heat. I was supposed to check it once a night and log it. The place smelled like old wood and mildew, quiet except for the hum of traffic far away. Everything looked untouched. Dust on the pews, cobwebs in the corners, except the front. The altar was clean, not dusty, polished. Someone had wiped it down recently. I told myself it was the realtor or a volunteer. Behind the altar, I noticed shallow grooves in the floor, half moons, repeated, like something heavy had been dragged forward again and again. I finished my sweep and sat in the back pew to fill out the log. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not close, but not far either. Slow, patient. The sound stopped. Then the smell hit me. Wax, burnt wick. I walked forward and saw them. Candles, a dozen of them short, melted down unevenly, all facing the altar. They weren't there 10 minutes ago. Behind them sat a wooden box, old, hand-carved symbols I didn't recognize. Inside were coins, modern ones, quarters, fresh, and a folded receipt from a Dollar General dated that morning. Soft tapping came from the walls. 3 slow knocks, then a pause, then 3 more, like a response. I backed away, tried the door, locked. From the inside, that's when I saw the pews. Every single one had deep impressions in the cushions, like people had just stood up. All at once, all facing forward. I didn't yell, I didn't run. I unlocked the door with shaking hands and stepped outside. The knocking stopped the second I crossed the threshold. I quit that job the next day. The church sold a month later, still empty, still locked. But sometimes, driving past late at night, I see the windows glowing faint orange, and I know they're still meeting. My name is Andrew K. This happened in rural West Virginia, late summer of 2019. I was documenting abandoned churches for a local historical society. Nothing creepy, just photos, notes, roof damage, old pews. Most of them had been closed for decades. That night, I stopped at a small brick church outside a town called Meadowbridge. No lights nearby, just trees, cicadas, the smell of damp wood. Inside it was quiet, dusty. Hymn books still stacked neatly. Someone had boarded the windows years ago, but moonlight leaked through the cracks. The odd thing was the altar, clean, no dust, 3 candles already burned down halfway. I assumed some kids had been there earlier. I took photos, wrote notes, moved on. As I walked toward the back, I heard something shift behind me. A soft scrape, like fabric on stone. I told myself it was the building settling. Then I smelled something warm, like breath. When I turned back, the candles were taller. New wax, fresh drips running down the sides. I didn't touch them. I stepped outside to call my supervisor. No signal. That's when I heard it. Low voices, not chanting, more like counting. I went back in, slowly. The pews were no longer empty. Not people, indentations, like something had been sitting there, pressed down, still warm. On the altar, someone had placed a notebook. Mine, open to a page I hadn't written yet. It said, "We continue when you leave." The candles all went out at once. I ran. I didn't lock the door. I didn't look back. The Historical Society told me that church was never officially abandoned. It still receives donations, cash, no return address. Sometimes driving past it at night, I see the windows glowing, and I swear they're waiting for someone to come count again. My name is Caleb M. In the fall of 2021, I was driving deliveries for a medical supply company in southern Ohio. Rural routes, back roads, places where GPS gives up. One night, just after midnight, my truck overheated near a town called Ironton. Nothing open, no signal. I saw a church at the top of a hill and figured I'd wait it out there. The church looked abandoned, white paint peeling. Sign out front said services ended in 2009. The doors were unlocked. Inside smelled like dust and old books. The air was cold, still. I sat in a pew, sipping a warm Dr. Pepper from my cooler, listening to the engine tick outside. That's when I noticed the hymn boards. Numbers were set, recent ones, crooked, like someone rushed. I laughed it off. Small towns do weird stuff. I walked toward the altar. That's when I saw the chairs, not pews, folding chairs, plastic, set in a tight circle behind the altar, all facing inward. In the center sat a small table, clean, no dust. On it was a spiral notebook and a pen. I flipped through the notebook, pages and pages of names, first names only, dates, times, always after midnight. Some names were crossed out. The last page wasn't. It had tonight's date, 12:17 a.m., and my tapping. I heard it then, footsteps. Upstairs, slow, careful, like whoever it was knew exactly where I stood. I whispered hello, no answer. Then chairs scraped all at once. I backed away, my phone buzzed. No service, but a voicemail notification, one new message. I didn't listen, I ran. I didn't stop running until I hit my truck. The truck started right up. The next day I checked the church online. No recent activity, no groups, no permits. That voicemail is still on my phone. I know it's from inside the church.